Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us on KREM 2 News First at 4. I'm Tom Sherry.
Good to have you with us. I'm Jane McCarthy. Spokane police are investigating the death of a woman right now. This is breaking news out of northwest Spokane.
Yeah, the police say someone found the woman dead in her home. This is near West Shannon Avenue and Maple Street. However, at this time, police are not calling this a homicide. Why? Because they're still trying to figure out what happened. The department is expected to release more information later today, but the person who called it in says the woman appeared to have been assaulted.
We'll keep you updated on that. In the meantime, crews are cleaning up after a train derailed in Spokane this morning. It happened near the intersection of Havana and Sprague at Union Pacific's rail yard. Nobody was hurt in this.
The trains were carrying something called molten sulphur. KREM 2's Taylor Vito is live on the scene with a look at the latest. Taylor.
Yeah, guys, well, that cleanup is going on right behind me. Just to give you a sense of where I'm standing right now, I'm just to the south of Avista Stadium. Bear with me as I move behind the camera here and zoom this in to show you what we can see from this angle here. Now, again, this happened at 11 last night, a little after 11, but still at this hour, crews still on scene doing all different kinds of cleanup. Now, as I get the camera in here, you can see from this point, from this viewpoint, I should say, there's heavy machinery on there. Again, at least 2 rail cars were tipped over, so there's been a lot of work going on. Of course, all is safe now, and nearby businesses say they're glad that's the case.
Surprised. We hadn't heard anything about it at all.
The guys at Trailers and More along Sprague had a view from their backyard. Tons of heavy gear and workers addressing this, a train derailment. It happened at Union Pacific's yard late last night. 6 cars derailed, 2 were tipped over. The company says they were carrying what's called molten sulphur.
And we found out what was in the containers. Glad it wasn't worse than what it was.
Now, it's not clear how the derailment happened. The company says they're investigating that. Nobody was hurt, though, and no leaks were detected. The railroad says their main line wasn't affected either. Employees at the trailer business say this is the first such derailment they've seen here, but add that there are always trains going through here.
We hear it all the time. It's the humming noise like we hear right now. It's pretty much a constant, normal here.
While there were no leaks of the sulfur, some lumber was spilled. The company didn't say how long cleanup would take. The Federal Railroad Administration says they're aware of this incident, but they don't plan on investigating. The National Transportation Safety Board told me the same thing. Live in Spokane Valley, Taylor Vito, KREM 2 News.
Again, Union Pacific says the derailed cars contain molten sulphur. There was no leak, so no one should be at risk of exposure to the chemical. But people are asking, what if?
KREM 2's Ian Smay took a deeper look at what could have happened had there been a leak.
The train cars contain molten sulphur. The chemical in one of its derivatives, sulfuric acid, is used in the production of various things, including fertilizer, oil, paper, dyes, pigments, drugs, and explosives, just to name a few. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, molten sulfur is transferred at a high temperature so it doesn't solidify. It is usually transported at 290 degrees and poses a fire and explosion risk if it rises above 450 degrees. The NOAA says the sulfur burns with a pale blue color, which can be hard to see in the daylight and can produce a poisonous gas known as hydrogen sulfide. It can also explode. Sulfur can cause burns if it comes into contact with the skin. It can also cause damage to the eyes if exposed to fumes or the material itself. Other symptoms include headache, nausea, vomiting, and irritation of the lungs, throat, and nose. In severe cases, it can also lead to death. When in doubt, see a doctor for treatment. And I just want to reiterate that no one in Spokane should have been exposed to this since there was no leak in those cars. For more information on molten sulfur, including on how to treat burns or irritation caused by exposure to molten sulfur, visit KREM.com. I'm Ian Samay, KREM 2 News.
All right, turning our attention to the forecast now. Blustery day out there. Some of you saw some rain, and now there's a red flag warning.
Yeah, we are tracking the red flag warning for tomorrow afternoon. Follow me over here if you will. It's all in central Washington. And we're not really seeing excessively hot temperatures, but it's going to be the wind and a low relative humidity that's going to be the real problem. So the red flag warning in effect from 2 in the afternoon until 8 in the evening. Some wind gusts in this area shaded in red, 25 to 35 miles per hour. So obviously that means if a spark gets happened, there's any kind of ignition at all, rapidly spreading wildfire would occur in these conditions with that kind of wind and again, low relative humidity. So keeping an eye on that for you as well. What we're talking about as far as the forecast. We've had a few showers that have been moving through the area. The showers, though, have pretty much moved out of Spokane. We're at 73 degrees right now. The wind is out of the southwest at 13 miles an hour, so it has been a breezy day, as Jane pointed out. Most of the rain now has moved into northern Idaho and western Montana. We're still seeing a few showers here locally in extreme northeastern Washington, and just now beginning to move out of the Washington Palouse into the Idaho Palouse. I'm not going to rule out another shower later tonight, but you get the idea that it looks like we're starting to see some drier air move into the region. We'll look for decreasing clouds and a low of 54. Tomorrow should be mostly sunny, but still below average temperatures. Again, windy. Locally here, wind gusts up to about 30 miles an hour. And again, that's out of the southwest. As we head into the weekend, 80 degrees and sunshine on Saturday. We start cranking up the heat, though, on Sunday, where it's 88 degrees. And Jane, we're going to see hot weather for much of next week as well.
All right, Tom, thank you very much. We'll be ready for that. In other news, the Freeman High School shooting suspect is in court again today to decide whether he will be tried as an adult. He's accused of opening fire in the high school's hallway in 2017. One student was killed, 3 more were injured. The first witness called to testify today was a psychiatrist for the defense who evaluated the suspect and his parents.
Yeah, the psychiatrist said that the suspect was neither mature nor sophisticated at the time of the alleged crime. He added that he believes the suspect has potential for rehabilitation. Our Amanda Rowley was there today and tells us the hearing is expected to last for at least a week.
Overdose deaths in the U.S. declined for the first time in nearly 3 decades. This is according to a new report from the CDC. The center credits the drop to fewer deaths from heroin and prescription drugs specifically.
Even so, about 69,000 people died from opioid overdoses last year. Meantime, we are getting a detailed look at the number of painkillers flooding the market. This is according to a new Drug Enforcement Agency data that has come out. Drug companies turned out 76 billion pills between 2006 and 2012.
And it has been 5 years now since that devastating Carlton Complex wildfire swept right through central Washington. 2 on your side's Whitney Ward has been working on a special presentation. She joins us now with more on that. Whitney.
Good afternoon. It's hard to believe, but today marks 5 years since that fire just exploded onto the landscape and then burned through Okanogan County, including huge portions of Pateros and Alta Lake. It destroyed more than 350 homes and burned 250,000 acres of timber and ranch land. And for many in that area, things would never ever be the same again.
Like it can all be gone just like that, everything. So, you know, you live more for the moment.
It was pretty amazing to see. I mean, you guys were here and saw everything that happened after the fire. And I think we are a tight-knit community now.
In the last 5 years, what would you say your department has learned from the Carlton Complex? That was me when I was talking to the new DNR Commissioner of Public Lands, Hillary Franz. We'll hear more from her tonight. So make sure and join us at 7 o'clock for our half-hour special report, 5-year fight, the Carlton Complex recovery. I'll see you then. Jane, Tom.
Looking forward to it. Whitney, thank you very much. In other news, the quakes, they just keep coming. A 5.3 magnitude earthquake rattled parts of southern Oregon today. The epicenter was about 150 miles off the coast.
Yeah, this was a deep quake about 9 miles down near the Blanco fracture zone. The area sees a lot of seismic activity, and it's not too far away from the Cascadia subduction zone. This is just one of the many earthquakes to rattle the West Coast. The San Francisco Bay Area was shaken by 2 earthquakes yesterday, and a 4.6 quake hit western Washington last Friday.
Even with all of this movement, seismologists with the USGS are not panicking, and they ask that you don't panic either. They don't believe these earthquakes are necessarily related.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Wow, what an unbelievable moment. Half a century ago, astronauts set foot on the moon. As the nation remembers the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 moon landing, NASA leaders are looking to the future.
The agency believes it can make it back to the moon by 2024. This time, they say the mission will be about more than returning a man to the moon.
We have direction from the Vice President, who of course is the chairman of the National Space Council, that within 5 years we will land the next man and the first woman.
Well, NASA estimates that will cost about $30 billion to send the next crew to the moon. But agency's leaders, they think that the trip is worth it and could be a stepping stone to get us to Mars.
Wow. Well, also 1 year ago, a 600,000 square foot lot off of Geiger Boulevard was just a field of wild grass. Well, now that space is being transformed into an Amazon fulfillment center.
And it's big. The facility is set to open soon. Many of you have a lot of questions about it. KREM 2's Mark Hanrahan joins us now with a story we're working on. Mark?
Yes, good afternoon, guys. If you have driven west on I-90 out of Spokane, you have no doubt seen that building. It is massive, like you mentioned, 600,000 square feet. The Amazon Fulfillment Center will be the first one of its kind in eastern Washington. Many of you are wondering how many jobs will be available when the center opens. Well, back in May, a spokesperson told us they plan to hire at least 1,500 full-time employees. And with so many jobs available, transportation is a top concern. Well, we spoke with the Transit Authority today. They tell us they are in the middle of planning a route to provide service to Amazon when it opens. Transportation was not your only concern, so coming up new at 5 tonight, our Tim Pham answers your top 3 questions about the new facility. For now, guys, we'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Mark.